So hi there again, friends, strangers, and anyone who might just come across with this video. Today I wanted to talk about a serious topic. I think that is kind of a follow-up from the last one, BPD one, that I will like to name the false self. This is an interesting concept I read, I think just a month ago. Which I think I would like to explore again from my own experience, what it is to participate, so to speak, in this kind of tricky experience that is, I think, very relatable for a lot of BPD people there. Then again, my anxiety is almost 30 something man that was diagnosed with high functioning BPD just I think 3 to 4 months ago. And well, today, just want to dive really into it. A disclaimer, first of all, then again, I think this is gonna be an ongoing thing, at least with my mental health issues kind of videos, um, which I think it's very important again to disclaim that I'm not an expert, so in any way or fashion, I want to talk about from experience for any other people with BPD. Again, I think it's really important to have that noted as it is, I think, to have a trouble in the community, people who might upload material and so on, to talk about BPD without the stigma and having in mind, I think, in my opinion, to what it is to experience this disorder, and to have in mind again that from what I'm seeing, I'm probably gonna share. I would like to have this little note about BPD as a disorder and not really a personality per se. So what I'm going to be sharing today is, I think, something related to this topic that I just mentioned, that is the false self, and I think it's a little bit about communication styles and so on. So I think for anyone who might want to share, give some insight, or just try to ask questions or so on, just feel free to put that in the comments below, I guess. So let's get started. What it is to then this concept that is the false self. I think in some classic to other subtypes of BPD, it is not really that talked about that much, because I think that this is somehow linked to an experience that is really difficult to define. Um, as it is, I think that topic again that is linked to identity. So probably if you know that already, BPD thing at the core talks about, or just tackles the issue of personality disorder. So in a way, I've read that, and I think I could say so, at least from my experience, that it's a relatable topic for anyone who might live with BPD, to have a sense of self. And I think this is a really broad um, issue to talk about, to really dive into, because I think really again at the core, to talk about the self of that theme, I think that topic, I think it will not be in my best interest probably to really explain or talk about the self in such a way to try to explain that. But I think I would like to give that question that it is, and just I think the point where we could get started, that is have somebody have sometime, anytime, thought about what is, what the mechanics related to the self and how it is developed since your childhood and so on? What are the things that make you you, and what are the traits and so on, circumstances that might give you the identity that you have and so on? I think then again, I will not try to go as deep as we like to, because this is probably gonna end up being a 20-minute video, and I'll try to keep it short and explanations and so on. Pretty much on the spot, on the fly, so it will be, as it is always, really difficult for me not to ramble and to go on this, yeah, divergent. I don't know if that's the right word. Again, well, let's just keep it at that. What it is that. So in a way, I think this topic is related to that very intricate, complex concept that is the self. So for a lot of people out there, might be something triggering to talk about people with BPD, their identity, and I think it is really simple and somehow stupidly reductionist in a way to put it like that, because uh, then again, I think really deep down, and I think that is a main issue with BPD diagnosis. We have to keep in mind that anyone who might experience is not that they're not having, or they're now focusing on uh, how do you say, their sense of self, or their identity. It is more like to have this, I don't know, fog, or really clouded. Uh, so I think I would like to start there to name a few things that I consider might describe what an identity is, and what is the issue for people with BPD when it comes to really know well what they are at all times. So the first one, and that is personality. I will like then again, because I tried to do it on the fly and really don't have the vocabulary probably, that uh, variety that I would like to know to express this as much as accurate as we like to. But then again, personality per se, I think some people might define it. It is this set of traits that make a person a person. So I think one of those might have been in the wide range of traits that might help people, or the person per se, to identify as a character, so to speak. So personality in that regard will be almost all the abstract things that build a character. So the temper, the emotions, the feelings that person might develop. I think this is somehow related to the background that we have. We talked about the minorities that we already in, the kind of culture, country, race, and so on that we as a human being were given when born, and culturally it developed to make this character that is a person, right? I sorry again if probably that's a very vague description of definition. But then I think it is important to probably just try to touch upon the idea a little bit, what might create a personality per se. Then again, I'm probably being overly simplistic, but I think for the purpose of this video, probably is gonna do fine. So, having that in mind that a personality might create someone, then what else could we say that is something that makes a person, this that creates this sense of identity? Well, then again, they will have to refer to other things that might be the appearance, something more physical, and so on. And I think cognitively, as it is probably not that really related to linked to the idea of the abstract, the personality, the sense of self. When it comes to this abstract realm that I talked about, I think we could say that the ability for any one of us to rationalize and view ourselves consciously. So, in a way, we could say then that behavior might be part of personality, so to speak. But then again, here probably you are, any one of us are almost viewing where I'm heading to and what the um, issues, trouble for people with BPD are laying down. Well, in this way, I think linked to that idea, well, cognitively and behaviorally, then again, we have something that is really tricky for people with BPD, and that is then the cognition and behavior. So, what it is this false sense of self? The It is linked to this idea of the identity that we already have. Again, I think it is almost like the maladaptive coping skills that we create for our own sake and safety to make up for a lack of understanding in the environment. I think that will be probably the most basic principle to throw that in there. To throw there. So, what is the false sense of self? Well, it would be then this set of skills that are in some way wrongly created or developed to overcompensate our understanding, then again, of the environment and of our own. If we talk about then people with BPD that might develop until early adulthood or so on, we have then a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to interpersonal relationships and the intrapersonal one, that is the relation with ourselves, uh, because that really, I think, is explained and described as this badly learned sense of how we could experience ourselves in a world that really deep down it could be, or it could feel dangerous for the most of us. And the false self, so in itself, it's, I think, some material. Some people out there talk about it almost in a narcissistic way. That would be to explain how we try to navigate relationships uh, with purposefully to try to accommodate ourselves to other people, and that might get this experience of, for some of us, not sharing ourselves or true selves as it might be the best idea too. Um, it's really hard, I think, to try to define this again. Sorry if I oversimplifying? Probably I am. Well, I think most definitely I'm doing so. But I wanted to talk about this this topic again because I think it is really linked to dissociation. That is a serious topic for people with BPD who might get to experience since their early years, I mean childhood and so on. I really, how do you say it? How can I say this not to sound probably harsh or rude to some people probably. I think really deep down is this ambivalent. I think that's the word I would like to use. This ambivalent sense of selves that we get to create unconsciously. I think it's really important for me even to say so, because again, we're not talking about uh, post-traumatic disorders and something that are along those lines, because BPD again, it is somewhat in the middle of a lot of disorders, so it is not that strange or uncommon to get experience BPD with comorbidity that would be with any other disorder that might just be linked to this major disorder, that be any form or type of BPD. So having that in mind, I think it's a really tricky concept to really dig into, because then again we will have to explain what makes this abstract concept that is the self a very intricate one and a really hard one to grasp on, to try to learn and understand people with BPD. So in my experience, and probably this is gonna be the easier way for me to tackle this. My own experience has been, I would like to use the words confusing first of all, and second of all, anxiety producing. Um, Again, I think that will probably gonna be linked to my own experience, to my diagnosis, um, somehow with related to um, some form of anxiety disorder. But again, what I mean by confusing and anxiety producing, it is almost like since I've been, I don't know, probably 13 or 14, 15 years old, I've been experienced somehow some form of dissociation. So I knew these three ones: uh, the realization, the personalization, and the dissociative state. Um, to some extent, throughout my years to my almost 30 something adulthood. And what it's been shocking to me in these couple of years is try to almost reassess the things I thought that make me me. Uh, it might sound confusing to some people and a really natural thing that we'll eventually gonna go through, right? So that's my thing. I think that is somehow something that happens to all of us on different stages of life or ages. But I think for someone with BPD, well, at least for me, it's been really anxiety producing, to say the least, to reflect on the ideas that made me me in the past. And what is really confusing and shocking about this is not to be able to form a sense of self in retrospect of what I've done. So it's almost like I mentally checked out for the past, I don't know, probably 25 years of my life. And it doesn't mean that I can get to experience sadness or any other stage, or any other emotion that could be longing for the past, melancholy, and feeling nostalgic. But it's almost like, at least for me, what it's been, it's almost experiencing the moment, the present moment, endlessly, and that would be probably linked to high functioning. I'm doing quite well most of the times, but when something doesn't align with, I don't know, sense of self that I have, that I most most probably uh, then mirrored from other people. That's when the identity crisis and stress indicators just come to play. So it is, I don't know, like I would like to say that I'm in charge emotionally of what I feel, but sometimes, and I think this really depends on the mood I'm in and how ready I. It's really difficult for me to find the words to explain this one. Yeah, I think we said it is really difficult to not take something that might feel, because I almost think about this in the back of my head, something that would be not take that seriously to trigger me to make an impact on how I'm feeling at the moment. So in interpersonal relationships, that's something that I struggle with a lot, because I'm the type of person, probably with BPD and probably linked to my personality as well, to keep my things to myself, to be very reserved. Then again, it is linked to the high functioning one, because I'm not the classic, so to speak. Again, I don't like that term that well. Yeah, I'm not the one to almost express anger and any other feeling. So yeah, and it is almost like I'm putting my emotions down my throat, and I get this sense of perfectionism, um, to which I think I almost unconsciously, uh, I mean, I can avoid that sometimes with some skills I've been learning, but it is somehow like I need to accommodate that sense of myself that I created, and I think it is demanded of me unconsciously, while at the same time I'm very chilled, so to speak. That is, I think, not the right term. Putting my numb down. See, that's the right word probably. Emotionally, so then again, here's where we start to see the fear of abandonment issues, because it's almost like I mean, does anyone like to let other people down? I think that's the right answer is no, no. anyone doesn't to do that. So what's the what's the point? Hmm. Sorry if I checked out. Been thinking about this one a little bit more. It's almost like I've been doubting myself all the time since teenager, and that's somehow natural. I think probably for most of us. Um, but I think really deep down, I feel like doing okay. It's this almost subconscious need to accommodate again and to play this role of being the nice person, being the good friend, being the person who needs to articulate something uh, the most to be perceived as this way. And I think probably then again that talks about insecurities that we all have. But for me, it is here where I clash. That is, I know what things rationally I could do the most out of, but then again, I don't like to say that I choose not to go along those ones. I think it's almost like compulsive that I don't do that, that I don't do so. So this false of self that has been something that I've been thinking, I don't know, in some years until now, have created this sense of what I've been doing, what time person, who I've been, um, who I've been. That's alright. That's a curious sentence. Just again, when the anxiety comes, and the confusion comes. That's what I starting to experience dissociative states. So I think for me it is almost like sometimes I'm in dreamland. Um, that I mean that in the way that I'm mentally checked out and I feel like I'm floating. It is not the same as to say um, that I'm I don't know daydreaming. It's not the same. I think for me it isn't. And then other times I get to experience um, the personalization that would be referred to the dissociated sense of oneself as a body, as someone who get to experience life. So for me, it is almost like feeling like I'm non-existent, that I'm struggle to find my time with things, with people, with the sense of invalidation as I get to experience to almost digest what I feel like personal attack of those kind of feelings that triggered uh, um, the emotions, the dysregulated emotions that people with BPD get to experience. And then at other times, I get to experience the realization that would be to seeing the environment thinks or have this distorted sense of your surroundings. So for me, it is almost like an addictive that anxiety episode is gonna come because this happens to me. This isn't me happening to me since I was 15 probably. To see letters and adverts and um, yeah in the internet and in any place, almost like the jumping out of the frame, the picture, the paper, the wall, and yeah, almost like feeling like you're in dreamland again. But it's um, I would like to say that it's scary, but I think you get used to it. It is confusing. It is, I think, the right word to say to use to explain this one. Um, so I think I wanted to talk about the perfectionism part because that's, I think, something very related to the discouraged or quiet diagnosis of BPD. But I think I'll just skip that or let that to get that left to another video and just try to wrap it up here. As then again, it took me for about 30 minutes to talk about something. This is my fault because probably should have tried to go really that deep into. But then again, I think this probably is gonna help someone that might go into the journey to see an almost 30 something long video. Well, I really appreciate if you have any feedback, want to talk about this in this channel again. Thank you for watching, and well, we'll see you soon again. Bye bye.